Could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Dressed in all black like the Omen, which means we either took one on the chin or got some bad news to report. Didn't take one on the chin. Last time I checked, it was May. We're not playing any football games that matter. And thus, got some bad news. It was expected news, nonetheless. But Chase Roullier has been released by the team today. Saved themselves roughly $4 million under the cap. This is a post-June 1 designation, so it will not become official until June the 1st. However, this is something that we saw coming once Washington was able to draft Ricky Stromberg in the 3rd round of the 2023 NFL Draft. The minute that selection came across the bottom of the screen when Roger Goodell made the announcement, or whomever, I don't think Goodell was announcing picks in the 3rd round, whomever announced that pick, that pretty much signified the end of the Chase Roullier era in Washington. It's a bittersweet ending for a guy that we lauded and praised as a 6th-round pick to come in here, kind of put a stranglehold on the center position, play extremely well. As a matter of fact, so well that he ended up getting a 4-year, $40 million extension with this team. And before he signed that extension, he never missed games. He was one of the most reliable players on the entire team. And then he signed that extension, and it's like all hell broke loose. He was injured in, I want to say, the Broncos game in 2021, right before the bye, missed the rest of the season. Came back, rehabbed his ass off, was ready for week 1 of the 2022 season, played in the first 2 games, and on the very last snap, in like garbage time, the game was over. We were down 9. There was no way we could catch up. He's on the field, and you hate to see it happen, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstances are. It just so happened to be in garbage time of a game that you had no chance to win. And he, hurts himself again and misses the entire season essentially. For the 2nd straight year, he was unable to play the entire season. And really, for the 2nd straight year, he missed most of the season. And unfortunately, that would be his last game in Washington, that game in Detroit where he injured himself. So Chase Roullier has been released. Again, we've been talking about this. This is not a surprise to any of us. We knew the minute they re-signed Tyler Larsen, signed Nick Gates in free agency, and then drafted Ricky Stromberg, you didn't double down. You tripled down on the center position, meaning you were going to go in a different direction. And they pretty much told us this after the season was over. Martin Mayhew specifically went out of his way to say, we are going to have to explore options at the center position. We have to figure out what's going on there, because that was the 2nd year in a row that we were ravaged at the position. So we knew they were going to do something. We didn't know how drastic it would be, but bringing back Tyler Larsen, who's been a part of the injury brigade at center, bringing him back, but he's literally the worst case scenario in terms of playing. They've got 2 guys in front of him that should keep him from seeing the field at any point in 2023. But that's what we thought about Keith Ishmael in 2021, and he saw the field quite a bit. And we can go on and on, as to guys that saw the field, like Nick Martin, who we never thought would even be on the roster, let alone be playing meaningful snaps for this team. So hopefully we don't have to go through that this season, but Chase Roullier has been released. My real question, because we saw this coming a mile away. So again, this isn't a surprise. It was just, when was this going to happen? It wasn't a matter of if this was going to happen. We had already saw this one on the horizon once they drafted Ricky Stromberg, coupled with all the moves they had already made. My question is, who's next? They're not done. This is not the final cut that they're going to make to put themselves in a healthy cap situation going into the season in case someone shakes free that they would like to sign. They're going to have plenty of time to sort out everything, and they're going to get all their draft picks signed, but they got to free up some space to do that. But not only do you want to free up space to sign your draft picks, you also want to be able to have a little bit of cap flexibility should something arise. They're not done yet. So the question now becomes, who's next? I've already given you the guy that I think should be on high alert right now. I did a video about it about a week or two ago. I referenced it again last night. I'm going to double down on it again today. And I'm going to tell you, and here's what I think. We're not going to see anything until after rookie minis. That's when they'll know. That's when they'll have a working idea of how they want to move. If Braden Daniels shows them that he is capable of playing tackle, Travell Wharton will get his hands on Braden Daniels, and he will work him out during that rookie mini camp period, and he will give Ron Rivera and company his opinion as to whether this kid can make it in the league as a tackle. And if he shows up, let's say Braden Daniels, who checked in at 294 at the NFL Scouting Combine back in March, let's say he shows up at 305, all right? Let's say he's gained roughly 10 pounds, and it's muscle, and he looks to be in fantastic shape. He's still the athlete that he was at the Combine, one of the better athletically gifted tackles at the Combine. And let's say he's still in tremendous physical shape. The weight that he added is good weight, and he's moving fantastically. And they say to themselves, this kid can do it. Now, again, that would be a bit of a reach because there's no physicality, there's no pads. But if they deemed him to be the guy that they think he could be, watch out for Charles Leno Jr. getting cut. Because they brought Trenton Scott here to fill the Cornelius Lucas role, which means Cornelius Lucas could be your starting left tackle, which means Braden Daniels could be your starting left tackle. I think they've positioned themselves where if they feel comfortable enough, and maybe that might just be Cornelius Lucas staying healthy, Trenton Scott being what they hope he could be. Maybe it's just them figuring out, hey, we're good enough to cut Charles Leno Jr. Because they know what Cornelius Lucas is. And they probably feel confident that if they have to, they can start him. I don't think they want to, but I think they're very comfortable starting him if need be. And if Braden Daniels shows that he's capable of being a starting left tackle in the NFL, and not necessarily in his rookie season, just he has the ability to do so, it may give them the comfort level to move on from Charles Leno. And it may happen without Braden Daniels signifying that he's a starting tackle or a tackle caliber type of player in the league. It may just be Cornelius Lucas being healthy and Trenton Scott being capable of being a swing tackle that they're comfortable putting in the game in a pinch. It may boil down to that. I could be barking up the wrong tree here, and they have no inclination, no reason to cut him, and aren't even thinking about doing that. I don't think it's going to be Logan Thomas. I don't think it's going to be Kendall Fuller. I don't see it being one of those guys. The guy that I've pinpointed on that offensive line is Charles Leno Jr. And so we'll see what happens. I don't think they're done. I'm interested to see what direction that they go in. They don't have many options. So it's going to be one of the guys that we've talked about all offseason. It's going to be Fuller. I don't think it's going to be Logan Thomas. They didn't draft a tight end for a reason. It's not going to be Logan Thomas. It's either Kendall Fuller or it's going to be Charles Leno Jr. I don't think it's going to be Kendall Fuller. I've been adamant about this. I don't think it's Fuller. I'm sticking with the theme of the offensive line. Out with the old, in with the new. They've revamped this offensive line. They've brought in a bunch of young guys. They've brought in a bunch of free agents. And they've also had some young guys that they've been developing, i.e. Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles, that they are ready to see once and for all, can Sadiq Charles do anything? If not, we've got to move on. I think they're going to revamp this offensive line top to bottom, and I think Charles Leno Jr. may get swept up in that when it's all said and done. I think they just need to dot a couple of I's, cross a couple of T's. They need to make sure that Trenton Scott is legit, okay? They need to make sure Braden Daniels is legit, and if they are able to verify those two things, I think Charles Leno Jr. is gone. What do you guys think? Chase Roullier officially released by the team. Really good dude too, man. It sucks because I really was a huge fan of Chase Roullier. And I partly feel responsible for his demise because you guys remember the statement that I made. And I made it so adamantly. I made it so confidently about how we don't have issues at center. We don't have issues at center. Our center position has been rock solid for the last 3 years. And it was that statement, without knocking on any wood, I may add. It was that statement that I made that I think put us in this precarious situation that we've embarked upon the last 2 years, or endured rather, not embarked upon, endured the last 2 years. And I feel like Chase deserved better. But that's the NFL for you. It's a business. You hear it all the time. And unfortunately for him, injuries derailed his career here in Washington. And I think he'll latch on elsewhere. Reportedly, he's healthy. He's ready to compete. And maybe the third time's the charm for him and he doesn't get hurt again. You know, he's already been hurt twice and now he's back for the, third time in the last 3 years from an injury. And maybe this is the time that he's able to settle in, or I shouldn't say back from for the third time. The second consecutive offseason he's dealt with an injury, but he's healthy now. Wish him nothing but the best wherever he ends up. But his time was up here. So, leave it down in the comment section. Who do you think is next? Someone's next. They're not done yet. I don't think. Who do you think is next? Could it be somebody that we're not even thinking about? I don't see it. They don't have many options. And I mean, keeping it a buck, there aren't many guys. This is the thing that's so mind-boggling about Washington. We really don't have a lot of guys making a ton of money. We really, truly don't. All of the guys who just got paid are really the highest paid players on the team, and we really don't have anybody else that's close. I mean, you got the guys, that were first-round picks that are going into the final years of their deal that are making some solid money, like Montez Sweat, for instance. They picked up the fifth-year option on him. He's making some good money, but it's not the $24 million a year, the $25 that Terry and Duran and all those guys are up there making in the 20s. Jonathan Allen, I think, is right around 18 or whatever, and I think Duran is right around 20, 21, somewhere in there, and nobody else is even close to Terry and Duran and Jonathan Allen. It's amazing. It's spread out pretty evenly after those guys. Obviously, Montez Sweat, Chase Young's probably making some solid money, but it's not the money that, other teams are shelling out to their top players. So where do you go? Where do you go to try to save some money? There aren't many options. We're not paying guys a ton of money, which is why I think Charles Leno looks like a real candidate. I don't know. We'll see. Again, if they want to be as efficient as possible, the best time to cut him would be next year, not this year. Less dead cap, more of a savings, but you can still save this year. If you cut him, you're just going to inherit some dead cap that you can't use. It's up to them what they decide to do. But they got to have, you can't move on from Charles Leno if you do not have an adequate replacement. The old adage, don't quit your job until you have a new one. That's essentially where they are at left tackle. A lot of you want to replace him. But unless you have a better option, unless you're upgrading that position, I wouldn't fool around with Charles Leno Jr. Not saying, just saying. I digress. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I will see you guys for the podcast later on today, if you're interested. If not, I got a nice little hypothetical for you guys over the weekend. Hopefully you'll enjoy that exercise. I enjoyed coming up with it, and there may be more of those in store. You guys let me know if you enjoyed the exercise or not. But in any event, enjoy your weekend, and we'll reconvene on the other side. God bless. Take care.